What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I did number 1, I did number 2, and now I'm going to do number 3. That sounded kind of wrong, but we'll roll with it. Wasn't planning for that. Welcome to Chex Quest 3. What is Chex Quest? Well, if you have no idea, you've never seen Chex Quest 1 or Chex Quest 2 or anything, Chex Quest was essentially a Doom Total conversion that, I'm not joking, was passed out inside boxes of Chex cereal back in like the 90s. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I did in fact receive this game from a box of Chex cereal, the original one, Chex Quest 1, and I didn't really know anything about Doom or anything back then, but I thought it was fantastic, main reason being because it was fantastic, but yeah, it just a really amazing game, like the fact that they put that much effort into something that was literally just created as like a little gimmicky thing for Chex cereal. So, there was Chex Quest 1, I've done a playthrough of that on max difficulty. There was Chex Quest 2, which was not inside the box, you could actually go to the Chex website to download Chex Quest 2. That is no longer available, of course. However, a kind soul, my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, is that it's one of the guys that worked on the original game, actually sort of recreated these using the Doom engine, which is, of course, what they were originally created with anyway, and has released them for free online. So this particular version that I'm playing is actually Chex Quest 1, 2, and 3 all in one. You can download it for free, and there will be a link in the description. It's definitely worth your time. Like, it is very, very good. So, one thing that I mentioned when I went through Chex Quest 2 was that Chex Quest 2 is quite a bit more difficult than Chex Quest 1. Not crazy, but it's definitely harder. And Chex Quest 3, because it was created after the fact and is not created for kids, it's ridiculous. This game is insanely hard. Only if you're playing on the highest difficulty, of course. If you're playing on normal, then whatever. The thing is, when you play on the max difficulty, it makes it so that enemies will just constantly spawn in over time. So if you go in and clear out a room, give it about 30 or 40 seconds, that entire room is going to be repopulated by enemies. And what this means is that in order to make it through Chex Quest 3, at least for me to make it through, maybe somebody's got another strategy. I don't know that there's necessarily like a meta for this game, although I'm sure there's a speedrunning scene, I just don't know. The only way that I've found to effectively make it through is basically just to run through as quickly as possible. Because if you linger, enemies will just constantly keep spawning, and you will run out of ammo very, very fast. Because that's another thing about Chex Quest 3, is that it is much more sparing with the ammo. Or at least, there are a lot more enemies to take up the ammo. So you'll notice at the very beginning of the run, I was given, you know, a pistol, or the Zorcher equivalent of a pistol, and had to basically exhaust all my ammo before I got the phasing Zorcher, or the large Zorcher, whatever it's called, the shotgun. And this whole ammo scarcity thing is going to continue to be an issue as we go through the run. You may be looking at this first level and going, yeah, it's not that bad. And you'd be right. And you might even look at the second level and go, yeah, that's not that bad. But just wait. Oh, just wait. I've actually only beaten this on max difficulty a couple times, like, I guess probably 3 times. This was the 3rd time that I've ever beaten it. And it is insane. For maximum enjoyment, I would recommend probably playing on hard, but max difficulty is like 2 levels above that, so yeah. One of the funny things about this game, this series of games, I guess, is how clear of like an aesthetic and a theme that they have going. It's literally a game that was conceived out of a cereal box, and once again, that sounds kind of wrong, but that's not what I mean. But so much effort was put into like the art design and everything that it's so consistent and kind of iconic. I mean, in a sort of janky, obscure kind of way. The Flemoids, the main creatures that you have, like, to me, they are one of those like quintessential 90s enemies. And I think some people would be inclined to agree. There's also like this pretty funny sense of humor that the game has. Like, obviously, none of these things are guns, right? They're Zorchers, which send the Flamoids back to their own dimension, which is the explanation that's given in the game. But I mean, they are just guns. But I remember like the cutscenes in the original were very goofy. You're kind of like playing Buzz Lightyear in a way, but you're like the dude in the Chex suit. And of course they animated him like the Doom guy in the original game, which is hilarious. This is the rocket launcher, of course. And the best weapon in the game, that's the phasing Zorcher. However, conserve that ammo because that's the weapon that's going to get you out of a lot of tough spots. Especially when we get to like levels 3 and 4. And 5. See what I mean though? Lots and lots of enemies right off the bat. And all these are enemies that I already killed before I went to the, the next room. There is a melee weapon, which is a spoon, which is hilarious. And there's actually a chainsaw equivalent, which is a spork, which is pretty funny. And if you watched my previous videos on Chex Quest 1 and 2, you've probably seen those. And there is even a BFG equivalent, which we will be finding and utilizing in this run. I guess the bottom line about Chex Quest is that it's super, super good, and because you can download it for free, there's really no reason not to. It runs in DOS, but it's got a reasonable amount of options for you to change resolution and whatever. That's why you'll notice that when I pick up an item, the top left corner, the text will appear there like super, super small, because I'm running at a higher resolution. Like, picked up a yellow key. You can probably barely read that. Another cool thing about this game is that all the levels have secrets in them. So they put in enough effort to, oh dear, oh bad news, bad news. See, that's the kind of thing that could happen to you on max difficulty very, very quickly. And you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I might have missed a secret in this area. Oh well. In this run, I am sort of hurrying through as quickly as possible, so I will occasionally miss secrets. But it's fine. More reason for you to go check out the game for yourself, right? Alright. So yeah, the levels play out, I mean, as you would expect from a Doom-style game. You have to go through the levels, generally find 3 keys, and they generally go blue to red. And then you just make your way to the end. There is a map, but I don't think I'm probably going to be using it, really. But it is kind of handy if you're looking for, secrets or whatever. Or trying to figure out where to go. It's generally not too confusing. Look at this. This is pretty cool looking, right? Like, the whole, we're on a subway or a train or something. We have to make our way through the cars. And I know that Chex Quest 3 is a little bit, more high production value, I guess, even though, ironically, it was created without the backing of a company. But yeah, it's just so good. Yeah, see only 50% of secret areas. I'm pretty sure I missed the one in that one room, but yeah, it's fine. Alright, now things start to ramp up a little bit in difficulty. Part of the reason being these horrible monstrosities. Not only are these guys ridiculously fast, as I'm sure you've noticed, they have a ton of health and do a ton of damage. Always a good combination there. Another thing that I hope you can hear it well enough is the music. It's not, like, great by any means, but it fits the theme. Like, it's kind of cheesy and silly sounding. And it's so consistent. Like, all the music sounds like it belongs here. I know it seems like I'm just singing this game's praises, but that's because I think it's just absolutely fantastic. The other kind of nice thing about this is that, for the most part, there are a few spots, but mostly the game doesn't throw any sort of, like, cheap shots at you, like, oh, I got hit there automatically because there's no way I could have known. For the most part, you get a chance to see what's coming up. Like, I can see through the fence here to know that there are going to be horrible things as soon as I open this door. Or shoot, I could even kill the guys through the fence before going through it. But the thing is, on max difficulty, that's not going to do me any good, because they're just going to respawn by the time I get through the door. Yeah, this Phasing Zorcher is pretty much your best friend when it comes to those guys, because it does stun them like that. Most of the enemies, if not all of the enemies, do actually get stunned as you're shooting them. So of course having something that fires quickly is going to be quite the advantage. Alright. Now once we get to the next level, I'm really going to be just trying to sprint through, because there's no possible way I'm going to be able to kill all the enemies. This part is kind of a nightmare. These dudes do incredible amounts of damage as they hit you, so I would recommend, were you to play this on max difficulty, coming up here and killing them first, unless you're really, really confident that you can make it through that maze. And more than likely, at least one of them is going to respawn before I can make it through. So the thing is, like, I guess there's a little bit of nostalgia just because I did play the original and number 2 as a kid. But I didn't play 3 as a kid. I didn't play 3 until just, like, maybe a few years ago. So I don't really have any nostalgia for this game other than just, I guess, the art style and the concept. It's good, though. It's real good. Now, you probably have heard of Chex Quest. You probably know about it because it does have somewhat of a cult following. Got a nice little secret here. And there is our BFG, which we won't be using yet. It unfortunately uses the same ammo as the Phasing Zorcher, which means you gotta decide which of those is more important. And actually, the Phasing Zorcher is going to be more important to you on a general basis. There's our chainsaw, which is a spork. Awesome. And another thing that's cool about Chex Quest 3, if you've played any of the preceding ones, is that you would know that in Chex Quest 2, they replaced certain enemy types with ones that looked different but performed identical functions. So, like, the guys in the, metal suits that shoot at you, there was, like, a buff-looking Flimwood guy that would do basically the same thing, but just looked different. So in Chex Quest 3, they include both variants for the most part, and the one variant might only show up in one spot, but it's cool to have, like, oh, hey, it's that enemy again, I think I just love this game too much. Because I'm bringing up things that are really not that big of a deal, but I just like them. You'll notice that if you run through this fast enough, you actually don't take damage from it. Or you do. Mini-boss time. Come on. Okay, well, he's got a lot of health. There we go. Okay. Now remember the part where I mentioned that I was just going to try and run through as quickly as possible? I think when you see this next level, you're going to understand why. Oh boy. Here we go. Alright, so far so good. Yep. And remember, were I to stop and try to, like, systematically take out these enemies, All that would mean was that by the time I finished with the first set, they would start reappearing again. And then, of course, I would be out of ammo. So it's not great. And I will tell you, there were so many redos and retries on this level and the one after. Every time that I've played this. Like, there's no way that I can stop and take out all the normal guys, because those fast ones are going to get to me. Not to mention the dude's shooting stuff at me. Like, look, he still made it to me. So I'm almost running this like a speed run, although I'm sure that if this was actually a speed run, this is really slow for a speed run. It's more just about survival. Now, there is one thing we haven't talked about yet, and that is that because this game does have such a cult following, there was actually a sort of a re-release, or I guess a remake of the original Chex Quest, known creatively as Chex Quest HD. I will admit, right, like, I've only played it for a little bit, but the little bit that I played I really didn't like. I thought that, first of all, it's in 3D instead of, like, you know, sprites like this. I thought it was really ugly, for one thing. Like, 3D looks really bad, in my opinion. And the gameplay is just not quite as smooth. They added voice acting for no reason, and yeah. But at the same time, like, it is good that they made it, I guess. Just trying to, like, keep the love alive, I guess. Unfortunately, just the execution, yeah, it's just not so great. It was funny, though. You might have seen it for a while, if you're going to the grocery store or whatever, and they had Chex Mix. There were, like, codes on there to unlock different characters, which is kind of funny. I mean, I'll probably check it out at some point, especially since now this is, like, the last game in the series other than the remake. So just for completion's sake, I'm sure I'll check it out. But yeah, unfortunately wasn't too impressed with it. But it's alright. It's alright. It is a free game, so you can't be too mad at it, honestly. The fact that it is free does make it seem more like a labor of love rather than a, you know, a cash-in. There are no microtransactions either that I'm aware of. It's just, I guess you could buy the Chex Mix to get the characters. And I think a lot of people in the Steam reviews that I was looking at were saying, yeah, I really wish there was like a neutral option instead of just a thumbs up or thumbs down. But hey, it is what it is. Back to Chex Quest 3. You'll notice this little building here, the lodge or whatever that we're in, is a nice little break. Finally slow down. Because part of the thing about this is that although enemies do constantly spawn, you tend to get the same enemies in the same places. So that means that if you run into a room and there are only 3 normal dudes, you kill those 3 and only 3 normal dudes will respawn. It's not like you're going to get one of the horrible 2-legged monstrosities in there. But take deep breaths here, because the final area of this is just a horrible mad dash to the end, trying not to get, like, horrifically slaughtered in, like, 10 seconds. And then the entire final level is what I just described. Alright, here we go. Worth noting, by the way, that you keep all your equipment between levels, of course, but you also keep your health and armor at the same levels, so were you to complete this level with very low health, it would be incredibly difficult to finish the final level, which is why I'm sprinting as fast as I can. I did have several failed runs where that was the case, you know. I got here and only had like 15 health left, and then it's like, okay, well now I have to somehow make it to the first health pickup, and yeah. Bad times. Bad times, great game. And like I said, I assumed that the game would actually be a lot more fun on a lower difficulty, but hey, I've done the other ones on max difficulty, and it's kind of an achievement, I guess, to complete it on that. So another thing that's kind of neat about the Chex Quest series is that each of the games feels very different in terms of the levels that you go through. So in the original game, you start out in the spaceport. You're supposedly on this planet where all these miners, that's with an E, not the no, went missing. You are going to rescue them. And so it's basically the Flemoids planet. So in episode 2, or game number 2, supposedly as you were flying back, some of the Flemoids caught a ride on your rocket ship, kind of like the plot of ToeJam and Earl 2, I guess. And so you're fighting them on the actual like Chex planet, so it's all city and that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. And then in this one, it's sort of a mix, because this level very much resembles the final level of the first game, but then you've got the cities and you've got the like national park level, which is kind of different. So it's cool. It's not as if you're playing the same game over and over again, although the mechanics are virtually identical. The theme gets mixed up enough that it is exciting and you're always kind of wondering what's coming next. Or it's exciting because you're trying not to get horribly murdered. Like, take a look at this room and the next room coming up. In fact, the way we're going to handle this is to open this and get in this small enclosed room so that I can just blast the heck out of them. So I've died in that room many, many times. But again, can't linger here for too long, because otherwise the enemies start respawning and will just whittle you down. Maybe whittle isn't the right word, though, because it's much more rapid than that. Alright, see, this guy has already respawned. By the way, those backpacks, the Zorch packs or whatever, actually increase the maximum amount of ammo that you can carry, so you'll notice that I have a lot more ammo than I did at the start, which is good. That's going to help me. Like, I could only carry 50 shotgun ammo at the beginning, but now I can carry up to 100. Okay. As long as I have a good amount of ammo for the final boss is actually not that hard, so that's good. Really, the difficulty is not the single enemies, it's the, like, large groups. That wasn't so bad. Just in case you missed it the first time around. Unfortunately, this last level does actually get a little bit easier as you go through. The hardest part is that initial room that I went into, where I had to get the first key. No thank you. Alright, final key. We're getting there. So as is typically the case with these runs, what I'm going to do is upload this full playthrough, and then in addition to that, I'll upload a long play version, which is, hello guys. Yeah, I guess I did take long enough for them to respawn, didn't I? Doesn't take long. Hey, hey. I'm going to take him out because I don't want him sneaking up behind me. And one of these opens up this door. I'm just going to hit all of them because I'm trying to remember which one. Okay. I believe we do get some health restorers in the final room before the boss, so we should be okay there. I mean, I know. Not that I believe. I know that we get some health restorers in the final room. But not before this. Okay, good to go. Let's get some health pickups, and final boss, I believe, is in the next room. I gotta say the most disappointing thing is our dude, by the way, and we will BFG him. We will BFG to BTFO. Is that PG rated? I don't know. We generally keep things PG rated here on the channel, but who cares? Yeah, like I said, he's not that hard. I mean, if you spam the BFG at him, I suppose he wouldn't be, but you get my point. So anyways, yeah, one of the disappointing things I think about that Chex Quest HD remake is that if it were really, really good, then we might get a Chex Quest 4. But as it stands, probably not unless somebody fan makes one. I mean, someone might have done that already, I guess, but who knows. So that was Chex Quest 3. Kind of a rocket run through the game. That's kind of the only way that I'm actually able to beat it, is by doing a rocket run through the game. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed. As mentioned, we'll be posting a long play version of this next week, which is all the way through with no commentary, just because I kind of like making those. And I would definitely recommend checking out the link in the description to play this game for yourself, because as I mentioned, it is free. And I'm not hiding it behind some sort of ad fly link or anything. I'm not getting any kickback from it. Not sponsored by them. I just think that it's great, and you should check it out. I think that I'm not sure. There might be some mods or something. I'm not really sure. But anyways, it's a small download because it is, DOS and small sprites. So check it out. Chex Quest 3. It's great. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Yeah. I'll leave you with that thumbs up and little smirk, and I'll see you in the next video.